Mega events in the city announced for the first half of the year. Inspirational theme for the fireworks during Chinese New Year. The government's designated rubbish bags go on sale today. Hello and happy Friday. As part of the city's promotion for the mega event economy, the government unveiled a lineup of some 80 mega arts, cultural and sports events for the first half of the year. An interdepartmental government task force helmed by Deputy Financial Secretary Michael Wong has also been set up to better plan and coordinate the efforts. Jackie Lin reports.
Marking the opening act of some 80 mega events in Hong Kong are the flash mob displays of these giant chubby hearts. These 12-meter-wide floating hearts, which debuted in the London Fashion Week, will adorn both iconic landmarks and hidden corners of Hong Kong, aiming to spread love and bring more fun between Valentine's Day and Lantern Festival. In mid-March, a centennial memorial event for Hong Kong's late literary titan, Jin Yong. A sculpture showcase of novelist Jin Yong's constellation of characters will be held at Edinburgh Place in Central. Also in March, renowned pop culture event ComplexCon making a debut outside of the US here in Hong Kong. The three-day festival will land at Asia World Expo. Following Louis Vuitton's show late last year, Hong Kong will host Dior's fashion show on March 23rd, adding an extra dose of razzmatazz too as a raft of sporting showpieces, including the Live Golf tournaments and the Hong Kong Rugby Sevens. Recently, lawmakers have urged the government to woo more A-listers and big-name celebrities to Hong Kong. To achieve that, the government announced a task force will be set up to improve interdepartmental coordination because speed is of the essence.
Performances, they're often approaching several cities at the same time. And if we are able to coordinate our efforts better, speedier, and respond more efficiently, and the friendliness of Hong Kong to them will make a difference in them selecting Hong Kong as their preferred location.
Various departments will also be helpful and be facilitating as much as possible. But we do think that there's room for the culture to be improved. We'll reach out more proactively.
So what we are focusing on is also to incubate the cultural landscape in Hong Kong. So if you can see that for Jin Yong's event, we have an interdisciplinary kind of collaboration with a lot of Hong Kong creatives.
The government said they hope these mega events held in Hong Kong this year won't be a one-off affair, but will continue to be hosted in Hong Kong over the coming years. The government also said such recurrence allows relevant sectors and stakeholders to both benefit from and support these campaigns over the long term. Jackie Lin, TVB News.
Some details about the Lunar New Year fireworks display have been released. It is set to be an impressive spectacle at 8 p.m. on February 11th, the second day of the Lunar Festival. It marks a comeback after 4 years of hiatus. Theme China is strong in the Year of the Dragon. When all industries are prosperous, the spectacle is expected to last 23 minutes, featuring 8 scenes. 3 barges will release a total of 23,888 firing shells across Victoria Harbour. Boasting a width of 250 meters, the pyrotechnic extravaganza is even bigger than the National Day fireworks display, with a cost of $13 million. There will be displays of red and gold figures resembling the Chinese lucky number 8, a newly conceived shape named 5-colored Heaven and Earth Ball will also be showcased. While the implementation of the municipal solid waste charging scheme has been postponed to August 1st, the sale has begun for the scheme's designated rubbish bags. They're available for purchase across retail stores, including supermarkets and convenience stores. Today's Secretary for Environment and Ecology, Tse Chin-wan, said even if members of the public have bought a fake designated rubbish bag, they are not breaking the law. Jackie Lin reports.
The designated rubbish bags are now available for purchase across 3,000 retail locations, including convenience stores. While the government has rolled out 9 sizes of bags ranging from 3 to 100 liters, priced between 30 cents and $11, this store only sells 3 sizes. The largest available is 20 liters in size, and patrons have to buy 40 bags in one go, priced at $88.
而家手感嚟講咧就即係 OK 嘅，即係。
Wilson Ip-Hing Kwok, chairman of the Amoy Gardens Joint Committee, said one 15-liter rubbish bag should be enough for the use of a 2 to 3 person family for one day. For a 4-person household, the government earlier said the designated bags should set them back around $30 to $50 a month. But some citizens expect the actual cost will be higher.
因為本身我哋屋企都有一啲特定嘅垃圾袋，或者。
Ms. Liu said it looks flimsy, and the white plastic bags they use at home now can hold much more trash. The 15-liter bag fits this smaller rubbish bin often used at the office, while 20-liter one is filled by around 10 pieces of common household waste. Rubbish is only allowed to be stashed beneath this reference line. Trash that cannot be bagged should be affixed with the $11 designated labels. The government also noted some suspected sale of counterfeit designated bags.
We are very concerned about anybody they are selling these unauthorized bags or even false bags. Yeah. And therefore, they will work together to conduct surveillance both in the market as well as over the web. And whenever they find any such cases, they will take actions under the law.
Secretary for Environment and Ecology Zhe Qingwen also reminds the public to avoid buying the designated bags from unauthorized sources. But if people bought a fake bag by accident, they won't be subject to legal consequences, Che said. Another big question, the government-designated rubbish bags are not biodegradable. When asked if it's contrary to the scheme's ultimate goal of environmental protection, Zhe said none of the plastic bags buried in the landfill can be degraded, as they are left in an oxygen-depleted environment. Zhe added the biodegradable bags can cause even more harm to the environment because its material, when combined with other chemicals, can create more microplastic beads and toxicity. Jackie Lin, TVB News.
The government reiterated its view that each household needs only one designated garbage bag with a 15-liter capacity per day. Authorities stressed the suggestion would work as long as residents perform their recycling duties properly. Timothy Lee reports.
Many residents who wish to buy designated garbage bags the same size as their regular garbage bags will need to buy the version with a 50-liter capacity. Each bag is priced at $5.50 and will cost users close to $170 per month if one is used every day. Secretary for Environment and Ecology Zhe Qingwen said the municipal waste charging scheme is meant to encourage residents to recycle. He claimed that if more people perform recycling duties properly, then a designated bag with a 15-liter capacity will be more than enough each day. But some have voiced a concern about the designated bags being non-biodegradable. Critics of the scheme question whether that defeats the purpose of the government's aim to help the environment, despite Zhe's explanation. Some environmental organizations say the use of biodegradable garbage bags will help relieve the burden on the city's landfills. Edwin Lau, executive director of Green Earth, said authorities should not worry about the unlikely scenario of biodegradable bags releasing harmful substances. Lau also noted many other countries are already using non-plastic garbage bags and that they are much more environmentally friendly. He said the government should refer to these examples. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
The national security trial of former media tycoon Jimmy Lai continued today. The trial took place at the West Kowloon Law Courts. In his testimony on the operation of the English edition of Apple Daily, former Next Digital CEO Chung Kim-hung said Lai instructed Apple Daily writers not to write too many pieces criticizing then-President Donald Trump. Chung said Lai hoped for Trump's re-election so that, as president, he could impose more sanctions on China. Chung also said he asked Lai whether it was too sensitive to invite a retired U.S. general onto the talk show when the national security law was already implemented. Chung quoted Lai as saying there was no turning back. Foreign Minister Wang Yi starts his 4-day visit to Thailand today. Wang, also a member of the Political Bureau of the Communist Party of China Central Committee, will meet U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan while in Bangkok. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Wang Wenbin said Wang Yi will state China's position on issues such as the Sino-U.S. relations, the Taiwan question, and exchange views on other areas of common concern when he meets Sullivan. The meeting is part of fulfilling a pledge by President Xi Jinping and U.S. President Joe Biden to deepen dialogue between the two countries. Wang and Sullivan were due to meet today and tomorrow, a little more than 2 months after Xi and Biden talked for about 4 hours during the APEC forum in San Francisco. Wang will also meet the Thai Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs to sign a bilateral visa-free agreement during the trip. Still ahead, United Nations courts set to issue ruling on Israel's war in Gaza. A transatlantic storm in a teacup over Britain's national drink. Welcome back. The International Criminal Court of Justice is due to announce its ruling on urgent measures in the Israel-Hamas war soon. They could order Israel to stop military action in Gaza. David Garrett reports.
Injury everywhere in Gaza. At least 20 were killed and 150 wounded when Israel fired on a crowd waiting for food. This man witnessed it. He said tanks were hitting people with shells, including his nephew. Patients lie bleeding on the floor at the overcrowded and under-resourced Al-Shifa hospital. The health ministry puts the death toll in Gaza at over 26,000. South Africa told the World Court at The Hague last month this amounts to genocide and war crimes.
This case is about whether Israel is intending, whether Israel's national leadership, its government, intends to create conditions of life or directly kill people of Gaza so that a significant portion no longer exists.
Today's decision is a preliminary judgment. The UN's top court could issue emergency measures like ordering a ceasefire. They could grant some of South Africa's recommendations, like more access to humanitarian aid. Any decision is not enforceable, but would put political pressure on Israel.
I actually don't think it matters as much as public opinion seems to think whether or not Israel is committing genocide. The fact is there's been tremendous human suffering on both sides of this conflict for decades. I think the focus really needs to be on finding a way for people who live in that region to live in peace and security.
Meanwhile, dozens flee Khan Yunis as smoke billows behind them. These refugees claim Israel's attacks were indiscriminate. They say a school had to be evacuated as many young men were detained. David Garrett, TVB News.
The U.S. state of Alabama on Thursday executed a convicted murderer with nitrogen gas, the first time the method has been used to put a prisoner to death. The state said the method would be humane, but critics called it cruel and experimental. Officials said Kenneth Eugene Smith, 58, was pronounced dead at 8:25 p.m. at an Alabama prison after breathing pure nitrogen gas through a face mask to cause oxygen deprivation. The execution took about 22 minutes. In 1989, Smith was convicted of murdering 45-year-old Elizabeth Sennett in 1988. Some doctors and organizations had expressed alarm about the method. Australia has celebrated its National Day, but it came against a backdrop of protests marking the anniversary of British colonization. Sydney Opera House was lit up with pictures of Indigenous figures from history as a man played a didgeridoo. On this date in 1788, British ships carrying convicts arrived in Sydney. The Prime Minister said it was a day for Australians to reflect on everything that we have achieved as a nation. An Indigenous ceremony took place in the harbour with dancing, but there were protests in several cities, including Melbourne. There has been fierce debate over whether Australia Day should be moved. For many Indigenous, the 26th of January is known as Invasion Day. India marked its Republic Day with French President Emmanuel Macron in attendance as the guest of honor. Prime Minister Narendra Modi led proceedings. Modi laid a wreath to commemorate fallen Indian soldiers. This was ahead of the Republic Day military parade. India adopted their constitution on January 26, 1950, following independence from Britain. India has invited French President Emmanuel Macron to attend the day. He accompanied Indian President Draupadi Murmu on a ceremonial chariot. Last year's foreign guest of honor was the Egyptian president. An American scientist has sparked a transatlantic storm in a teacup by offering advice on Britain's favorite hot beverage. A chemistry professor is suggesting a cup of tea would taste better with some salt in it. Advice that is causing howls of protest in traditional English tea rooms. Nazvi Karim with more.
Just as Americans think we in Britain know darn little about coffee, so we seldom regard Americans as experts on tea.
For centuries, the English thought they had the formula for the perfect cup of tea. Now, an American chemistry professor, Michelle Frankel of Bryn Mawr College in Pennsylvania, says she has a way to improve the taste of the estimated 100 million cups of tea consumed in Britain every day. She suggests adding just a bit of salt.
So it makes the cup of tea taste less bitter. It's kind of a rescue thing.
If it had been something other than tea, the English probably would have taken the advice with a pinch of salt. But for coffee-drinking Americans to proffer advice on the British national beverage, well, that stirred it.
Oh, no. No, absolutely awful. Yeah. No, you can taste the salt. No, I thought it would be worse.
I don't like salt.
Frankel's book, Steeped in Tea, suggests using warm milk and a pinch of salt in the Brits' favourite cuppa. The book is a product of 3 years' research and experiment exploring more than 100 chemical compounds found in tea. The US Embassy in London intervened in the brewing storm with a social media post reassuring the good people of the UK that the unthinkable notion of adding salt to Britain's national drink is not official United States policy.
Definitely not for me. It tasted more like I'd actually made the cup of tea using seawater.
Ah, that's a good cup of tea.
Nazvi Karim, TVB News.
And back locally, 11 people were injured in a crash between two buses at the Western Harbor crossing, while 8 people were injured in a 5-car pileup in North Point this morning. The accident unfolded near the headquarters of ICAC around 9 a.m. The crash involved 2 private vehicles, 2 taxis and a truck, which led to traffic snarl-ups. That's after the fast lane of the central-bound side of Island Eastern Corridor was forced to close before reopening at around 11:30 a.m. 5 injured drivers and 3 passengers were taken to Pamela Yude Nethersole Eastern Hospital for treatment. Meanwhile, 2 Kowloon motor bus double-deckers crashed into one another at the entrance of the Western Harbor crossing at around noon. 4 men and 7 women were injured. And finally, cherry blossoms in Hong Kong. This as a cherry blossom garden located at the Hong Kong International Airport opens to visitors on Saturday. Timothy Lee tells us more.
A sea of pink petals and greenery. This view can be found at the Hong Kong International Airport's Cherry Blossom Garden, located on Chek Lap Kok South Road. Owing to warmer weather a few days back, the blossoms had an early start, with at least 1/3 of them having already bloomed. The early arrival of the cherry blossoms served as a send-off to the cold weather and a symbol for the start of Chinese New Year. Visitors can arrive at the garden after a 20-minute walk from the Tung Chung MTR station. The airport authority began growing different plants in the garden 3 years ago in a bid to brighten up the neighborhood. Airport Operations Executive Director Stephen Yu said the airport this year introduced a newly cultivated type of flower to the garden named Hao Yun Lai, meaning the arrival of good luck in Putonghua. He said he hopes the upgraded design of the garden can attract more visitors eager to take photos. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
That's the news. Thanks for watching. Have a great weekend.